Okay, good morning and welcome to this webinar. So overnight we had guidance from the government in terms of the return to work and how to try and make your workplace a COVID-19 secure workplace. And the guidance is very comprehensive, and we thought we'd just sort of summarize this very briefly for you this morning. And I'll just share some slides. Here we go. So the guidance can be found on the gov.uk website, and it is very important that you go onto that website and you read the guidance that is relevant to you. There are 8 sets of guidance, as you can see on the slides: construction and outdoor work, factories, plants and warehouses, homes, labs and research facilities, offices, restaurants offering takeaway and delivery, shops, and then vehicles. And obviously there may be a mix and match in your particular workplace. Often warehouses will have offices attached, and so you need to bring those guides together. There is a degree of duplication, but they are set out in more or less exactly the same order for each version. And so it's important that you read through those in depth, and you can see the link there at the top of the slides. In terms of the general position, well, actually that's not hugely changed from what we knew already. If employees can work from home, they should continue working from home. That is the safest place for them to be. People who are extremely high risk should also stay at home regardless of anything else, particularly if they receive a high risk letter or if they're particularly elderly. And public transport should be avoided if at all possible. So people should be driving to work, walking to work, cycling to work, if that is at all possible. If the employee cannot work from home, they need to maintain social distancing. So that's a minimum of 2 meters distance from their colleagues. Additional cleaning should be put in place throughout the workplace. Additional hand washing facilities, and that may be hand sanitizer if you can get hold of it, or something like that. And appropriate PPE must be worn at all times. What is appropriate will depend on your circumstances, but what the government has basically said is that things like face covering should be provided, but you don't need full-on medical grade face masks that you may see NHS doctors or something like that wearing. The purpose of the face coverings is to stop you passing the infection rather than to stop you getting it. There will be some employees who, due to the nature of their role, will not be able to socially distance. Now, the key consideration here is that if they cannot social distance, or you cannot provide social distancing for them, are they necessary? Do they have to work for your business to operate? If not, then they stay at home. Okay, you use the furlough scheme or whatever other schemes may be available to you in the future. If they are critical, then you need to look at what steps can you take. So there may be things like additional cleaning, PPE. You may be able to put in some barriers, lots of perspex barriers. You may be able to sit them back to back rather than face to face, or to have them side by side. Again, whatever steps may be appropriate for your workplace and given the role that these individuals are being asked to undertake. But these guys are the ones who are most risk for employers to get right. You then need to undertake full risk assessments, and this really boils down to the crux of the guidance. It's all about the risk assessments that you undertake. They must be undertaken for every workplace. That may be appropriate then to undertake them for particular roles within the workplace. For example, if some roles can be socially distanced or some can't, those that can't may need additional risk assessments undertaken for them. It may be that people are not extremely high risk, but they are high risk because they have a certain medical condition or something like that, in which case you may need to undertake a risk assessment for that particular individual. Employers with more than 50 employees need to publish all of those risk assessments on their website. Obviously, if it is an individual risk assessment for a particular person because they've got a medical condition, you wouldn't publish that. But if it is for the more generic role that they may undertake, you may be needing to publish that as well. Importantly, the Health and Safety Act continues to apply. A lot of business groups were lobbying to have this COVID-19 set apart from the general Health and Safety at Work Act regulations. Unsurprisingly, the government has not agreed to that. And so it's important that you always have in mind that this is treated as you would for any accident or risk at work. You need to keep full records. It would be sensible to download the government guidance that you're relying upon, because it is likely that there will be iterations of this, versions of this, and you need to make sure that your risk assessments marry up with that guidance for insurance purposes, and to make sure that you can properly represent yourself should you have a claim against you for not looking after the health and well-being of staff. You've got your paper trail. Here was the government guidance issued on the 11th of May. Here are the risk assessments we did on the 12th of May. That guidance was changed on, let's say for argument's sake, 1st of June. New risk assessments undertaken 2nd of June, etc. It gives you that paper trail. You've done everything you reasonably can. The Health and Safety at Work Act does not require an absolute prohibition on any risk. It requires measured, reasonable approach to mitigating risk. And obviously, the higher the risk, the more steps need to be taken, and that's reflected in this guidance. I hope that was a useful summary for you. As I say, the guidance is quite detailed. It is essential that you read through it in detail, and then look to apply that in the risk assessments and all the other steps to your business. You'll see my details on the slide there. If you have any queries or any issues, please do get in touch either by phone or by email. We'd be delighted to help. Thank you very much.